One of the most important tools that you're going to have in your sewing room is your sewing machine. Now, that's a precision piece of kit, and it needs looking after. Think about it as if it was your car. So your car, you will clean your car, you'll take it to be serviced, you'll keep an ear out for grinding and bumping noises, and then take it off to the garage when that happens. Well, you do a similar thing with your sewing machine. So your sewing machine should be serviced regularly, and about once a year is ample, but it does depend very much on how often you use your machines. I use my machine quite a lot, so I would probably get mine done every 8 months to 10 months. And if it starts making weird noises, then I definitely think about getting it serviced. But one of the things that you can do to keep it running smoothly is to clean your machine. And it is surprising how many people don't actually regularly clean their machine. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So the first thing we need to do is gather our tools. And for that, you will need a screwdriver. So here is a sewing machine screwdriver. Often they come with coin screwdrivers like this one. It's up to you which one you use. It can be easier to undo these screws with a bigger screwdriver, but then if it's too big, you can't get your hands to where the screws are. The next thing you'll need is a brush. So I have a brush here. This is one that comes with a sewing machine. You can also use a normal paintbrush, for watercolour paints, and a set of tweezers, quite long tweezers, to get in there for any stray bits. Now, it's been a while since I've cleaned this machine, so we shall see quite how bad it is. Now, this particular machine, this is a Brother, and it's actually got these clips here and here, which allow me to take off this front section. But I actually want to remove the whole lot, so I'm going to go into the screws. The first thing I've done is remove the foot itself, because then it's out of the way. So I've undone this screw here, taken the foot off and the ankle. I've also turned the machine off, because you're going to have your hands around here and you don't want sort of a cat sitting on your foot controller and starting your machine at an inopportune moment. So first of all, I'm going to get in here and undo the screws. So they will be quite tight, but once you've sort of got your little wedge on them, it's much easier to get in with a screwdriver and undo. So let's see, we can take a screw out. Make sure you put these somewhere safe as well, because you need them both to go back in again. Let's get this one back here. And I tend to find once they're loosened up a little bit, you can actually just rotate it with your finger, because there are bits of the machine that get in the way, otherwise sort of this screw just here. So as you can see, I'm just rotating this now with my finger. Undo that, and then take our plate off. Crikey. So this is in quite a state. The next thing I'm going to do is take out the bobbin case. All right, so this is the way that it's come out of the machine. If you're unsure, take a picture of it before you go any further. But there will be, on most machines, there will be a little mark, like this one has a little white triangle on it, just there. And that will match up. There's a little dot just here on my machine, little white dot that matches up with this little tiny arrow, but your manual will tell you this as well. So then we're going to get in there, and you can see the fluff coming out. So it's been about a month since I've cleaned my machine, but as I said, I do use it quite often, and I do a lot of quilting, so a lot of this fibre has come from quilts. So we're just going to go around. Now, there are common problems that are caused by an untidy machine. For example, if you get a little bit of thread underneath your case here, you can find that your bobbin doesn't run neatly, and you end up with a bird's nest underneath your foot. sorry, underneath your project. And look at this, all of this fluff in here. Weirdly, most of the time it's grey, but if you can't get hold of it, just get in there with your tweezers. Resist the temptation to blow into your machine, because that will introduce moisture into it and actually push everything further into the machine. So you see here how this is feeding up in the feed dogs as well. That's built up in the feed dogs, and that's actually quite firm now. That's actually quite felted in there, and that can reduce how efficient your feed dogs are over time. So if you are going to a workshop or something like that, or you're about to start a big important project, I would get into the habit of always cleaning out your machine. It will just take a few moments. Actually, I'll unthread it as well. It'll just take a few moments to get in there. Get out all those little bits of fluff. Give it a bit of a tidy. I think I've got most of that. And you can see how it's sort of, that's what we've got out of there just in a couple of minutes. You can also, if you've broken a needle recently and you've not found all the pieces, it will quite probably be inside your machine. Now, if you've got a small magnet, you can get telescopic magnets. You could pop that in there and get the piece out. But I can actually see there's a whole dust bunny that has got into the underside there. That's where these tweezers come in really handy. So you can see how this builds up very quickly. As I said, this is about a month's worth. But I do talk to a lot of people. Oh, there's a bit of thread, the random thread, that could cause problems. I do talk to people regularly who say, I say, you know, when did you last clean your machine? And they say, oh, you mean I'm supposed to clean it? But it will run smoother with a clean machine. So there we go. That's, I think, pretty much all of it gone. One last quick swipe round. Oh, no, hang on, found another bit. Gets in everywhere. Now, this is just because every time your needle goes up and down to create a stitch, it can grab a little a piece of the fibre in your fabric or from the thread, because they're obviously made of fibres as well. And it goes inside your machine. So over time, this all builds up and causes problems. So common problems are nesting, when your bobbin thread doesn't pull up properly at all, and skip stitches. Right, so there you go. We can see very quickly that's how much has been removed from this machine. So I'm going to take that out of the way. And then we're going to put everything back together again. So I'm going to give my bobbin case a little bit of a wipe out too. And then remember that little triangle just here, it needs to match up with that little dot, so it slides under the foot, the feed dogs at the back, slides in, and then you give it a wiggle. And what should happen is, like this, it should rock backwards and forwards like that, smoothly. Next we get our cover back, give that a little wipe underneath. And with that I've got a metal piece that needs to slide underneath here. And we go back to those screws. And then pop that one in as well. So I sort of finger tighten, just like that. And then we get in there with our screwdriver and tighten it. All right, so that's nice and tight. And get in there with this one. I'm just going to move that screw in there a little bit, just makes it easier to turn that screw. So it can be a little bit awkward to get in with those screws, but it's well worth the effort. So we just finish tightening those screws so that everything is nice and tight. So it takes a few moments, but it's well worth the effort. Now everything is clean, I'm ready to put my sewing machine foot back on here, pop my bobbin back inside its little housing, thread it up, and we're good to go for probably another month, creating even more fluff.